Yeah, can you identify it?
That's undeniable.
The airport had to be shut down after people apparently saw twinkling lights above the airport terminal. 17 flights had to be diverted. The latest sighting happened just 2 days ago, and people say they saw 4 lantern-like objects forming a diamond shape in the air, hovering in the sky for over an hour. And aviation experts say they don't know what it was. It wasn't a plane.
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday.
As UFO sightings go, this one was as good or as weird as it gets.
A light appearing high in the Arctic sky, baffling those who saw it and exciting a lot of comment. Early yesterday morning, just before dawn, this appeared in the Norwegian sky. A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral, and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole. In the northern community of Trondelag and on a Norwegian military base, cell phones snapped, video cameras rolled, and bloggers got busy.
Tonight, Norwegian authorities were investigating strange lights seen in the Arctic sky. The spiraling white light was seen for several minutes Wednesday morning. Locals say the light appeared to be bigger than the moon. Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been. Some feared it could have been a meteor, others a black hole, and there are even those that thought it could be aliens.
A strange spiral.
From the haunted backroads of America and live from the G&D Show studios, this is your GhostMan&Demon Hunter Show.
Doesn't that sound exciting to you?
Yes, indeedy. Welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only mystifying Oracle of Radio, your Ghostman&Demon Hunter Show, Demon Hunter.
That's a Ghostman&Demon Hunter radio show if I've ever heard one.
It
17
is.
broadcasts had to be postponed just for this.
17. They've shut down all other networks.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, special thanks. Thanks for joining us. Special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher, Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Hey, are you listening? They want to know, so check them out at actionaudioapps.com. Paranormal A, our Canadian buddies. Thanks so much, guys, for being cool. Yeah. Yeah, they're so cool. It's so good. We're back here. The studio's warm tonight, Demon Hunter.
It's warm on your end, man. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm.
You? Have you checked the recent stuff? I mean, my God. We have probably 2 feet of snow here in Indianapolis and more to come.
You know, and normally, I do watch your weather. Yeah. I have actually called you and said, dude, there's a tornado on the way, and you've run and gotten your kid.
Yeah, absolutely. We have done that.
This was just too much today. I woke up, I looked out the window, I was like, this was not supposed to hit until 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, what kind of world do we live in? I keep hearing that commercial that Mars has better temperatures than us right now. It's just that whole not being able to breathe thing.
Those people who say they're moving to Mars and they're willing to risk their lives for it, they're just looking for better weather.
That's true. We might be able to ask tonight's guest if I've been hearing those rumors about the manned space mission to Mars. My kids have been telling me, and I've just been so busy with the show, I haven't looked it up myself. The kids have been telling me that the manned space mission to Mars, which I know they've been talking about. I haven't researched it too much. But the manned space mission will be a one-way ticket. Have you heard this?
Yes, I have.
And so this is true?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I did hear they're picking, top scientists, people like that to go to the red planet. Red rocks, baby. But now,
haven't they watched sci-fi pictures? Don't they know that every manned mission to Mars ends up with somebody getting eaten? It's just...
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to die here. They're going to eat somebody. But that brings up a good question. If they send us... I wonder if they call us. And having a show like ours for the 9 years we've been on the air, and we've touched so many lives. And, I'm sure we have. And we brought so much light to conspiracy and aliens and monsters out there and ghosts and general weirdness. NASA may call upon us to do our service for our country. Will you go, Nathan?
No. No,
well,
I will not.
I'm glad you thought about that. For the well-being of mankind, for the future of humanity, you would not go.
I'm an entertainer.
Well, you could do it. We could do a show. We'd probably get clearer reception from Mars. I don't know, man. What do you think?
We might get a bigger audience.
Yes, we could get a bigger audience. Martians would be a big hit there. They'd have us stripped naked and beaten while we broadcast.
Oh, so it's 50 Shades of Grey.
It is 50. Have you what's the
50 Shades of Greys?
Have you seen? That's good. Inside joke. Not really. Did you guys get that? 50 Shades of Grey.
Grays.
Shadow Nation's not responding. I don't know.
Well, no, they don't like my sense of humor.
They don't. Hey, Demon Hunter, up on our, you noticed, I know, but Shadow Nation, you might notice on our page right now, if you're looking at the bottom left, we have an image of the late Mr. Leonard Nimoy. And we posted this week that we here at the G&D Studios are saddened by the passing of this legend. And Nathan, I'm going to let you take it away because I'm tearing up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, as you know, Sean.
Yes.
I am a long-time Trekkie.
Yes, you are. And
these Trekkers who exist these days, they just don't understand.
They just don't got the Trek.
They think themselves true fans, but the fact of the matter is, we Trekkies have been around a long time.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm devastated.
Yeah.
I truly am devastated. My childhood hero is gone.
It's like Sammy Terry to me.
Yeah, I mean it's where do you go from here? I mean, if you look at it, the original 3,
yeah,
or if you were a Scotty fan, the original 4, are gone. We've got Captain Kirk left. They, and in all the movies, he was the first to die. Mm-hmm. And now we've lost him because actor Leonard Nimoy, at the age of 83, passed away this week. And all of us little geeks were walking around with black bands wrapped around our Star Trek symbols and pocket protectors. So it's I mean, where's the logic in that?
You know, and
how can you walk away from that and say this was logical?
You know, and 2 months ago, we had sent Leonard a request to be on the show.
Yep.
And you know, I wish we would have got him on. But anyway, here it goes, guys. Leonard Nimoy, the gaunt-faced actor who won a worshipful global following as Mr. Spock. The logical human alien, first officer of the Starship Enterprise in the television and movie juggernaut Star Trek, died on Friday morning at his home in the Bel Air section of Los Angeles. As Nathan said, he was 83. His wife, Susan Bay Nimoy, confirmed his death, saying the cause was end-stage chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Mr. Nimoy announced last year that he had the disease, attributing it to years of smoking, a habit he had given up 3 decades earlier. He had been hospitalized earlier this week. His artistic pursuits, poetry, photography, and music, in addition to acting, range far beyond the United Federation of Planets, but it was as Mr. Spock that Mr. Nimoy became a folk hero, bringing to life... Hold on, I lost my place. Bringing to life one of the most incredible characters of the last half-century. A cerebral, unflappable, pointy-eared Vulcan with a signature salute and blessing. Go ahead, Nathan.
Live long and prosper.
There it is. Rest in peace, Mr. Nimoy, and thanks for the years of enjoyment for both my friend, my brother, and myself. Rest in peace.
And you know what's truly sad, Sean? All the little things that you learned about, Spock and Kirk and all these characters when you were growing up watching these. The movies lasted forever. We've watched them over and over again. Anyone who watched the old Star Trek behind the scenes knew that Spock's salute was actually a hand gesture he saw made while he was attending Jewish temple as a child.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes. It's actually the first letter in Jehovah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it's a sad
day.
It's a sad, sad day.
It's been a sad week. It has. It really has. And, it's, like you said, a passing of a legend. And, we've had some legends on here that are no longer with us. And I wish we could have got Leonard on. But regardless, what an impact he made on life. And a lot of people don't get to say that.
I just want to say, Sean, that goodbye, Leonard.
Shall be your friend. Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, Leonard.
Goodbye. That was dramatic. I liked that. That was good clips. I liked it. I liked it. Anyway, Demon Hunter, Shadow Nation, on a lighter note. Tonight's guest. The Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is an American-based non-profit organization that investigates cases of alleged UFO sightings. Tonight, Executive Director of MUFON and nuclear engineer from UCLA, Mr. Jan C. Harzan, stops by studio, guys. We look to the stars once again tonight to ask that age-old question that we've asked many times on the show. Are we alone in the universe? And if so, where's the aliens?
I've looked at our chat room, Sean. We're alone in the universe.
We're alone in the universe. Anyway, we're going out, guys. Jan C. Harzan stops by tonight. Big Cat, nuclear engineer, executive director of America's largest UFO reporting network. Tonight, only at the home of the Mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter Show.
Woohoo!
That's a big one. We've been on an alien kick here lately.
Yes. With the passing of the greatest alien of all time, it just seems appropriate.
That's true. I'm surprised. I bet MUFON made a public statement this week because, not only Star Trek did so much for, entertainment, but it allowed a large population of America, or the world, to look to the stars or to go into science. Started out as just, wow, that's cool, I want to be a scientist, but it opened their eyes and they, of course, the people go into it and expand on it. But, wow, what an impact that they've made.
Indeed. It's, I just got to say, all the things that Leonard Nimoy has done for entertainment over the years, inspiring things that he's done. I mean, how can you not take a moment and just, say thank you to a man like that who has changed the face of the world and given it pointy ears, and it's tough to say goodbye. It really is. I mean, I was so sad.
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd break into what was it, Boyz II Men? So sad to say goodbye. Remember that?
I would not do that. I did find it interesting.
Well, it's a song. It's endearing.
This is one of those things you and I have gone through before, Sean. It turns out William Shatner will not be attending Leonard Nimoy's funeral.
I heard that. I was going to let you bring it up because the Shatman. I thought maybe one day we'd get him on the show, but here we go with conspiracy and possibly fact.
Well, it's fact. He's tweeted the information himself. He's going to be in Florida. He's doing a Red Cross benefit, which he had already agreed to do.
Okay.
And, how do you walk away from a benefit that drew all those people in to meet you? I do not blame the man at all. I think if I passed away, Sean, and you were doing a benefit that was really important and people were coming just to meet you, I would expect you to go to that benefit.
You would?
I would.
Well,
I think that I don't think Shatner's playing it up for the fans. I think he truly, at his age and the work he's done, he has a select group of people who follow him closely, would do anything to meet him, and are looking forward to this. And they are devastated by the loss of Leonard Nimoy as well. And I don't think he could walk away from that benefit. I think he should raise his glass to a toast, and everyone should stop at that day while he toasts Leonard Nimoy and says his goodbye to his friend himself. But I do not think he should walk away from that. I think he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, you have to do what you think's right, and of course, he's going to go out and honor Mr. Nimoy by continuing to do good things. So, yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for him that he was placed in a situation where he had to make that decision.
He did.
I mean, you and I have been put in places all the time where we were scheduled to do benefits and things like that. And our producers or whatever pulled us aside and said, "Oh, you've got to come here, blah, blah, blah."
Some people still don't talk to us.
Yeah, some people. And those were situations that were out of our hands.
Yeah, but those weren't for charities. Those were to fill people's pockets, and they wanted us there to do free labor. Come on, man.
Well, I've got to say, Leonard Nimoy's last text to his public was inspiring. His last text was put out on February 23rd.
Yeah.
At 2:36 p.m. At his Twitter page, Real Nimoy.
Was that when he was in the hospital for the first time?
Yeah. And he's texted out, "A life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had, but not preserved, except in memory.
There you go.
Live long and prosper."
Live long and prosper.
LLAP.
He must have thought the end was near, but they did release him.
They did.
He did.
But isn't that always the case, Sean? Don't you always hear about they go home because they felt so good, and the next day they're gone?
Yeah, that's what you hear. Oh, they healthy as a horse. But did they in fact give him a clean bill of health when they sent him home, or did they send him home?
I doubt they gave him a clean bill of health. But I mean, if you were 83 years old and they were telling you that there was something wrong, but they couldn't do anything about it, and you had a pulmonary issue and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Would you spend the rest of your time sitting in a hospital?
I would not, sir.
Especially if you have family at home, it's that's where you want to be. And we shouldn't be droning on about this, but I do feel the loss. I do. I'm a longtime Trekkie. I have, I had my ears as a child. I have my special 20th anniversary Star Trek medallion that I keep that my brother gave me as a child.
Right.
And
now Lahora
just grew up with it. Uhura?
Uhura, she's gone too. Yes.
Uhura. Honestly, I don't know. I know we lost Scotty.
Yep, Scotty.
And I know we lost Bones, and now we lost Spock. So it's I know that. I know that Chekhov is still around, and Sulu's firing away on Twitter and Facebook, so he's there, and I'm sure they'll attend the funeral as well.
Yes, yeah, I think.
But think of it, Sean. We're here. We are going on about Star Trek. What about In Search Of?
In Search of what? Oh yeah, the show.
In Search Of, I mean, that was Leonard Nimoy's child. He brought us that.
Yeah. Yeah, and, absolutely.
I grew up watching that as well. So it's even President Obama took a moment and stopped this week and to say goodbye to Leonard Nimoy for all the contributions he's made. So nobody stop. I doubt my boss will stop if something happens to me.
Well, last night in his honor, I watched the first of the newer Star Treks, and I got sad because he played so good in that,
He did, and there is a third Star Trek movie in the works, so I don't know if he did any work on it or not yet, so it should be interesting what they do with that.
Well, you know, and I found this out last night. The kids were over, and we were having a little fire in the fireplace, and we were all cozied up, and we were looking what to watch. We watched Disney's Big Ten 6, which was really good.
Oh, Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
Big Hero 6.
And that ended up being really good. And then afterwards, kids were falling asleep, but they still wanted some kind of cartoon. Well, I was done with cartoons, you know. So I was looking for anything that would attract me, and of course, I look up the old DVD that got in there. Of course, The Halloween Tree.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the cartoon from the, I think it was 90s when it came out, maybe 1989, 90. And Ray Bradbury, of course, the author. But guess who narrated it?
Leonard Nimoy.
Yes, sir. Did you know that?
I did.
Well, see, I did not. And he totally sounds great in it, but you couldn't tell. It doesn't pop out at you, you know?
What a combination. What a combination. Ray Bradbury and Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, absolutely.
That's like listening to The Raven read by Christopher Walken. It's just one of those combinations you can't turn away from.
Isn't there a video on that? Like an audio recording of him doing
There's
that?
an audio recording. I have the audio recording, of course. It's
Play it. Do you have it on cue? Cue it up.
Of course I don't have it on cue. Because I mentioned it without...
You'd have to be in the... You'd actually have to be prepared for the show. Anyway, Demon Hunter, are you done with Leonard Nimoy for the night?
Oh, I suppose I could just about be done with Leonard Nimoy if you really want me to be.
Well, you know what time it is?
I do not know what time it is.
It's time for In the News!
In the News?
It's always fresh. It's always exciting. It's strange, a little bit weird and kooky. And it's straight from the G&D Show vaults, and it starts right
now.
You hesitated, but that was good. I like
I was waiting for the end of the music.
Well, that's how you're supposed to do it. Wait for the end of the music. It wouldn't have cut you out, though. Hey, Demon Hunter, first up to bat, I'm going to take this. Do you want to tell them the rules of the game?
Sure, but one second. It's, Hold on. It's coming.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I thought I was doing something cool, but apparently...
Upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore.
There you go.
Was that him?
That was him. That was Christopher Walken with the Raven. It's
as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this. Nothing more."
I'm sure there's like copyright on that, so I don't want to play more than the 8 seconds that we can get away with.
Right, we got to know some professional stuff. Anyway, Demon Hunter, what's the rules of the G&D News?
The G&D News, when Sean and I pick stories out of the paper by the titles. Excuse me. Just getting over a cold. Sean and I pick the stories straight out of the papers by the titles, which means we haven't read them yet, which means we can make a lot of mistakes, and every time we make a mistake, you take a drink. That's why it's called the G&D drinking game. That's right, every time we mess up, you have to down something. Of course, we recommend that if you are planning to drive this evening or do anything else important, don't play the G&D drinking game. You're going to get in trouble, and we're not taking the blame for it. With that in mind, please listen responsibly.
I liked it. First up to bat, guys, G&D Show in the news, and Al is now attacking pedestrians in the Netherlands.
Of course he is. That's what owls do.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
In the Netherlands, too. So apparently there's more. Anyway, guys, Purmerend, Netherlands. Go ahead and drink up, guys. We'll start off early night. The residents of one Dutch town are cowering under the umbrellas after an aggressive eagle owl started swooping out of the sky, sinking its talons into them and gouging their flesh. The so-called terror owl, has become how many licks does it... Can you imagine he swoops down and rips your tongue out and says, "Now how many licks does it take?" Huh? To get to the center of it? You don't get it. The so-called terror owl... The so-called terror owl has become a media sensation after attacking people in recent weeks. And around Purmerend. Drink up again, guys. 20 kilometers, 12 miles north of Amsterdam. He's high, man. He's north of Amsterdam. The smoke alone. The hardest hit area in town is the...
That's not fog.
Yeah, that's not fog. Does he have red eyes instead of yellow? The Prince Stitching Assisted Living Complex for people with disabilities is where he's at. A spokeswoman for the complex, Lisolette de Brugine, drink up guys, said Thursday the owl has attacked up to 20 people there in recent weeks, sometimes causing injuries that required stitches.
Ooh.
Yeah, the resident who fell prey to the owl, Niels Borkagine, drink up guys, told the Dutch news show Hart van Nederland that it was a painful experience. I bet it was.
And the medics said, "We don't give a hoot."
Anyway, we don't give a hoot. We don't pollute either. In the meantime, the town has advised residents not to approach the bird. No duh. And to use umbrellas if they are walking in the evening when the owl is most active. Marielle de Munich, that's right, and Robank, that's not, drink up guys, said staff visited the Prinstitching complex, drink up guys, this week to hand out dozens of umbrellas. So there you go, guys. If you need a new umbrella, let it happen there, huh?
Well, here we go, Sean. You know my fascination with sword swallowers.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought you had a better joke than that.
Well,
but okay. To be honest, my grandfather was a sword swallower.
Yes, he was.
And so I have a fascination with it. And this week, Blades of Glory comes to us from the Huffington Post. It's World Sword Swallowing Day.
Oh.
That's right. It was on January 28th.
Okay.
Just yesterday.
All right.
World Sword Swallowing Day. Sword swallowers will be sharpening their reserve and their blades today because it's World Sword Swallowing Day. Well, yesterday. Have a drink, folks. I messed up there.
So I missed it. Darn it.
Now in its 8th year,
the kids get off school.
Sword Swallowing Day is when blade gobblers, wait for the laugh, okay, gather at 13 Ripley's, believe it or not, auditorium to gobble blades.
Gobble.
At exactly 2:28 p.m. local time.
Yeah.
Dan Mayer, have a drink, folks.
Drink, guys.
The president of the Sword Swallowing Association International expects at least 55 sword swallowers will participate this year. Last year, they had 44 sword swallowers swallowing 89 blades. Myers told the Huffington Post.
A lot of blades.
This year, we're blowing that out of the water.
Yes.
We're going to swallow 70 swords in Orlando.
Oh, my God.
I'm here for the gangbang.
Mayor stated that the World Sword Swallowing Day, have a drink, folks.
I'm here for the gangbang.
To focus attention on their activities, which has been around for more than 4,000 years, and raise money for cancer research. Hey, we do that too.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. Some more cutting-edge sword swallowers participated today, or yesterday, including Brett Lundermelk.
Okay.
I said that right. No drink. Lundermelk. Who swallowed a curved sword at the Times Square Auditorium.
Okay.
And 7-foot 3-inch tall George the Gentle Giant MacArthur, who swallowed an extra long blade at the Ripley's Hollywood location. I knew I couldn't get through this without you laughing. The extreme sword swallowers may be one of the
Marcia.
The extreme sword swallow may be one taking place in Atlantic City. David Perry Furry, that's right too.
Furry?
Don't drink. Furry. F-E-R-R-Y. Furry.
Okay.
Will attempt to swallow a sword while sandwiched between two beds of nails.
Okay.
Then someone smash a cedar block with a sledgehammer right on top of him. So there you go, Sean.
Cedar block.
Cedar block. Freak show stuff.
Would you do that? I mean, in honor of your uncle.
If I could figure out how to swallow a sword, Sean, I would, but I got a gag reflex like nobody's business.
Tell us more about that.
No, I think that's the end of that story.
Come on, you say you got a gag reflex doing there. Can you talk more about that? I mean, you don't want.
I puke at the sight of a finger coming towards the back of my throat.
Yeah. Well, some people were like that. You know, when I was in high school, there was a girl. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I was trying to find the gag soundbite, but you ruined it. You wouldn't help me out. Anyway, hell, Demon Hunter, hell, H-E double hockey sticks is for sale. And these darned, I had to change the name of the title, these darned artists, you ready for it?
Sure.
Would really like your help buying it. Hell's for sale, Shadow Nation. For the group that puts on an art show.
That sounds like an AC/DC song.
Yeah, it does. Hell's for sale. For the group that puts on an art show called Damned, D-A-M-N-E-D, an exhibition of enlightened darkness. An abandoned church seems like an appropriate venue, but hosting in 5 acres of hell is even more fitting. Damned, which stages an annual visual art show, masquerade, and performances in Detroit, is hell-bent on raising, $1,333,000. Why the $333? I don't get that. Let's just be extra shopping money, Kroger or something. The holding of hell, Michigan, is where it is, you might ask, where members plan to build a performing arts center. They launched a Kickstarter campaign this week to help get the funds.
Okay.
The small town of hell is a surprisingly popular destination. Excuse for the puns, located 60 miles west of Detroit. Wow. Tourists can attend, I thought it would be in Detroit. Tourists can attend the annual Hearstfest or Blessed in Hell motorcycle rally, marry in the Chapel of Love, or get a degree from Damnation University. Damn you. I gotta get that t-shirt now. Or just take their, they can take their pictures in front of the town sign to prove they visited the underworld. There you go, guys. Hell's for sale.
Hey, Sean, we've been divorced. Both of us. We know what that's like.
Yes. Not from each other, but no. I know a couple times on the show we wanted to divorce each other. Hoo-ah!
Well.
Yeah.
If you weren't so bad in bed. Anyway.
Did you lose your place in the story?
Police in Toronto unearth a mysterious underground tunnel.
Oh!
Toronto, February 24th. This comes from Reuters.
Yeah.
A mysterious tunnel discovered in Toronto near one of the venues for this summer's Pan American Games.
Okay.
Contains a rosary and a crucifix.
Oh.
Or a rosary with a crucifix. Go ahead and have a drink of that one.
Drink
folks.
up, guys.
And there's nothing to suggest the tunnel was linked to criminal activities, police said on Tuesday. Well, obviously, people thought that right away when they saw a rosary and a crucifix.
Right.
The hand-dug tunnel ran about 10 meters, 33 feet, for those of us who live south of the Canadian border, and was large enough for a full adult to stand in. It was discovered January 14th in a wooded area near Rexall Center.
Rexall Center.
Rexall Center. A tennis stadium at the York University, and let's see what else. That will be used for the Pan American Games in July. Reinforced... I don't see anything else here about that, John. Why are they giving me just the top part of this story? Police found the rosary with a crucifix and a potpourri nailed to it on a wooden support.
Potpourri.
Such significant red poppies. Oh, poppy. Sorry. Poppy.
Poppies.
Poppy. Have a drink, folks.
Yeah.
Such a... red poppies are widely distributed in Canada in November as an annual symbol of the remembrance of soldiers lost in combat.
Okay.
So somebody, you know what? That sounds like a kid's cave that they dug out to be their clubhouse.
Yeah.
And probably, to me, one of those people went off to war and didn't come back. That's what it sounds like to me, Sean.
You think so?
I think so. That's where I would go with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I have no professional, education in that realm there, but I would have to say if I was, yeah, definitely. If I had to guess.
That's what it sounds like to me.
It
So,
does.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on about that cave that they've discovered up there right now. But everybody sees something like that, and they immediately jump to the supernatural. Folks, when I was a kid, we used to dig stuff out like that all the time.
Right. Well, hey, Demon Hunter, that is it for G&D's show In the News, where each week we give you new, exciting, and strange news from around the globe. But Nathan had a great idea, guys. What's
I
that?
did?
Yeah, for a new segment on the show that starts tonight. I hope I can remember what number it was. So, without further ado, Nathan, no background music on it. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what the... That's not it. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody...
Well, here, let's just... Oh, no, never mind. I
What's that?
was going to play that Star Trek music I had in memory of Leonard Nimoy, but
Well, you could
it's
do
gone
that.
now, so never mind. Let's just say, This Week in History from Ghostman&Demon Hunter.
Yeah, that's right.
Sean, let's look at what happened this week in history.
What was it?
This came to me because there were so many interesting things that happened this week.
Okay.
February 23rd, 1836.
Right.
The Battle of the Alamo began.
Oh, my goodness.
Remember the day, remember the Alamo. 1,500 soldiers attacked the Alamo in San Antonio on February 23rd, 1836. And it lasted 10 days until March 6th. So this is going to go through to next week, folks. Remember the Alamo.
Remember the Alamo. You know, I seen a... oh God, what was it? Oh, it was a good one though. It was a sign that said, "Buy American, remember the Alamo." I mean, I like that, but
wasn't the Alamo part of Mexico at that point?
yeah, I think it was part of that. But I remember the Alamo. I watched a great movie on it too, man.
Oh yeah, there's a great new version of it that's out there. Plus, who didn't love the John Wayne version of the Alamo?
Yeah, I never get to see.
In fact, did you know that the John Wayne version of the Alamo actually took place several miles outside of town?
Yeah.
And the recreation of the Alamo that he had built still stands, and you can go visit it.
Oh wow. Oh,
So February 21st, President Andrew Johnson was impeached.
Okay.
No other president has been impeached except Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Who was impeached in 1998. So in 1867, President Andrew Johnson, and in 1998, President Bill Clinton. Many people think that Richard Nixon was impeached, but actually he was pardoned before by President Ford before he could be impeached. So
very good. Hey, Demon Hunter, this is a big one for
me. He resigned and was pardoned. So
my dad used to make me watch it every day after school. February 28th was MASH, the Smash television show MASH, its finale.
Oh, I remember staying up to watch that.
See? The single most watched event in American television history. The MASH finale aired on this day. In 1983, the series' 251st episode depicted the end of the Korean War and resolved ongoing storylines. The finale surpassed the Dallas Who Shot JR episode in terms of ratings.
Well, hey, Sean, let's look at this day in history.
Yeah, what happened this day? March 1st?
Well, March 1st. Ralph Waldo Emerson was born.
Happy birthday, Ralph.
Author of The Invisible Man. 1914. The Limburg kidnapping.
Oh, big
took place. The 20-month-year-old son of Charles Limburg was kidnapped. He paid a ransom of $50,000, but his son was never returned to him, and we, to this day, do not know what happened.
Did he pay it out?
He did. He paid out $50,000, but never received his son back.
Crazy.
The Yellowstone National Park.
Yep.
That was in 1932, by the way, the Limburg kidnapping. But in 1872, the Yellowstone National Park was established. The first American national park was established on March 1st. 1872.
Can you imagine Yellowstone before it was a park? Was it just like somebody's backyard? Hey, look at the... What kind of a picnic could you have in that, huh?
Bear, run!
Run! You could put in an above-ground swimming pool, definitely back there. You know?
But it would be naturally heated.
Yeah.
And here's one for you, Sean. March 1st, 1692, the Salem witch hunt began.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Nathan.
In the Salem village of Massachusetts Bay Colony, Sarah Goody and Sarah Osborne, is that correct?
And Tituba.
And Tituba. An Indian slave from Barbados were all charged with the illegal practice of witchcraft. So I knew that one was one that would be interesting to you. And here's one, Sean. Just remind people that every 4 years, this would actually be February 29th, Gone with the Wind was honored with 8 Oscars by the American Academy of Motion Picture Arts on this day. But that would have been February 29th, a leap year, back in 1940.
1940. You know, we should have called Marilyn. Marilyn K. Roach, author of
We should have. And we could have called our friend from Salem, the TV show.
Yes, we could have. Morgana Shaw.
Morgana Shaw.
You know, they're getting ready to amp up a new season of Salem.
They should have had to air the first episode air today. See, that would have had some oomph to it.
It might have. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, that's a big one. Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne. So it started today. So they were actually brought in before, but the trial started today.
And I don't know why I always want to call her Sarah Goody, but
Sarah. Oh, Goody, Sarah Goody. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
but that's what happened, guys, this week in history. Now it's time for another original G&D show series we like to call
Legend X.
That's right, little brother. Legend X, where each week the Demon Hunter and myself scour the universe, or at least planet Earth, to find you the newest and the latest and the greatest in legends from the haunted backroads of America, from the Bigfoot to the Wolfmen to the gnomes to the Pudwudgies that roam through the woods and steal children. Today's Legend X is
the Tuttle Bottom Monster.
Tuttle Bottom.
The Tuttle Bottom's Monster, Sean.
Yeah.
I found this information on MysteriousHeartland.com.
Okay.
The Tuttle Bottom's Monster. Southern Illinois has been known for its reports of monsters and strange happenings. Tuttle Bottoms is known for its share of strange creatures. The Tuttle Bottom's Monster was first reported in the 1960s in Tuttle Bottoms near Harrisburg, Illinois, on the north outskirts of Harrisburg. It's section of town referred to as Doris Heights. The middle fork of the Saline River passes through the woods of the scenic area. Hunters and people who have parked along the road on the area would make frantic calls to the police and sheriff's department, reporting a large furry animal that resembled an overgrown anteater. Others said the creature resembled a large bear. Strange tracks were often found nearby. In the 1960s and 70s, many high school kids would go to the Tuttle Bottoms to drink beer and make out. It was rumored that some murders took place in the Bottoms. Parents warned kids to stay away from the area. I remember one hot summer night in the 1960s when our sitter took me and my brother there for a ride through Tuttle Bottoms as we crossed the bridge over the middle fork of the Saline River. A large creature that resembled a prehistoric something swooped down at the roof of the car, circled around, and followed us a short distance.
Yeah. Our
sitter floored the gas pedal in the old car, and we flew down the dark gravel as fast as we could. it was quite some time until we were brave enough to go back to Tuttle Bottoms. So that comes to us from MysteriousHeartland.com, Sean.
Thank you, Mysterious Heartland. That's kind of spooky, actually. A hairy... Now, did they think it might be like a werewolf? Because in the pictures it says it has like a horse head in the photos.
Well, you know, it has like a horse head, but a lot of people call it like an anteater.
Yeah.
And like it says there, some people refer to it as a extremely large bear, which I'd be more likely to believe. Mm-hmm. A lot of people believe that it was a natural creature, not a cryptozoic creature, but just a natural creature that was rarely seen in the area. So maybe it was an unusual type of bear that has now gone extinct. Maybe you don't know. What's Bigfoot, Sean? We don't know.
We don't know, but we think he's out there. Absolutely. I don't know, but we need to go down there, Nathan, and maybe it has to. You would think it's a meat eater. Looks kind of like a big hairy dog. Set out some steaks, some T-bones.
Maybe some ants.
Ants might
bring some ants out for it if it's a giant anteater.
Anyway, guys, that's Legend X. Spooky. Go out and look for
spooky.
Look for the Tuttle Bottom. I always said Turtle Bottom. I always thought that would be Turtle Bottom.
I would think it would be Tuttle because it's got no R.
Yeah, well,
and that's just me.
Turtle Bottom. Well, Tuttle Bottom. It would be perfect if it was like a gigantic turtle. What was the name of the one?
Well, we've got a rumor of one of those too, Sean. I'll bring that up next week.
Oh, very good, Nathan.
There you go.
You know what time it is?
Oh, is it that time already?
It is. You hear the music, Shadow Nation. It's the time to talk about that program we all know and love that comes on each Sunday, and it'll be around for a very short time, like 6 episodes, I think. It returns tonight, guys, and each week on this G&D original Rot Talk, we talk about all things Walking Dead, and we tell you what we think's going to happen tonight on this episode of The Walking Dead. What do you think, Nathan?
I think that sounds good. And reminder, folks, that this is a spoiler-active episode, which means if you're not up to date on everything Walking Dead, this is the time to stick your fingers in your ear and go la 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 la, because we're no whole bars here. We're going to talk about what we've seen, what happened, and what we think is going to happen coming up next.
Yeah, with that said, Shadow Nation, if you're following along with the rest of the world, or you're caught up through Netflix, last week, Rick was very hesitant, but they followed, what's the guy's name, Nathan?
Alex?
They followed Alex back to the Alexander Free Zone, and they hear the laughter of children from the car. And it looks like Rick has made the decision that they will go in and trust, or at least check out the place. What do you think?
Well, you know, it was funny because when Rick was saying, I need to know that it's going to be safe, blah, 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 right then and there, you knew it was going to be the sound of children playing.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was going to let his kids, go in there. And so that's what we were all waiting for.
Yeah.
Now, a little interesting fact there, Sean, you might have noticed that when they were riding there, the one, I can't remember his name, the gentleman with the injured leg.
Injured leg?
Yes, the young black man.
Oh,
African-American.
Noah. Yeah.
Noah. They were speaking, and he said there's a doctor named Pete back at the Alexander Free Zone, and anybody who is familiar with the comic books knows that Pete, not really a villain.
Yeah.
But Pete, not a nice guy.
That's what we've heard.
Not a nice guy at all. He actually does not get along with Rick at all, because in Pete's mind, he's a surgeon, he's necessary, he's a doctor, and he can pretty much do whatever he wants because people have to put up with him because he's a doctor. And so now we're going to see what happens next, because, well, obviously Rick doesn't get along with people who try and use their position to empower themselves.
Sure.
We've learned that with the governor. We've learned that with just about everybody Rick's ever come in contact with.
So I wonder, are we talking like a Nazi crazy type physician here that's doing experiments on the good people of the Alexander Free Zone? I mean, you wouldn't think.
No, I don't think that he's doing experiments
Aaron
on them.
would allow that.
Yeah, I just think that he is more likely just, he doesn't really care about the people, just what he can get out of it himself.
Yeah, well, they asked actor Ross Marquand, I don't know, guys, drink up maybe, who plays Aaron on the AMC's Walking Dead, and I get this off the blog.
Aaron, thank you.
Yeah.
I said Alex, it was Aaron.
Aaron, yeah, I get this off the blog for The Walking Dead. They asked him, your arrival was a big deal among fans. What's it like being the subject of intense discussion? He says, I've been following along, and it's fantastic. And, of course, it's sparking a little bit of debate in terms of whether we can trust Aaron. If it's going to closely mirror the comics, or if it's going to go in a totally different direction. It's wonderful and it's strange too, because I've been a fan of the show since the beginning. So to go from mainlining season 4 2 weeks before I got cast to actually being on the show, it's bewildering in the best way. I think it's funny that he brings that out. Can we trust Aaron? Are they going to... Because right now they're kind of pulling us in with the whole... Oh man, Negan's next. We follow the comic books, and they never stayed true, really to the comic books.
This is very true. I mean, it has been stated by Robert Kirkman himself that the comic book world and the TV world, as well as the video game worlds, are different dimensions. They're different worlds, and what happens in one may not necessarily happen in the other. Just like you'll meet people in one that will never appear in the other.
This is true. But, I think, people are talking about Negan. If we're going to meet a bad character, which we always got to meet a human idiot, there's been too many episodes without one. So, you're talking about the surgeon.
Well, that's because walkers are easy, Sean. You can shoot a walker in the head and not feel anything about it. You have to shoot another human in the head. Now you're dealing with the human experience, and people will act differently.
Now, there's a rumor going around, Demon Hunter, that the, how many episodes are going to be in this season? Is it split, or is it 6 and 6?
I believe it's 6 and 6.
Okay, that's terrible, because we're on 4 tonight.
Yes, we are, and which means they're going to build it, now they're going to introduce us to the Alexander Free Zone. They're going to introduce us to the possible hazards involved there, and then it's going to stop.
Yep, absolutely. Now, this sparks up a good thing, guys, that I just heard about. This is the first time ever for The Walking Dead, but they said for the season finale of this season, there will be a 2-hour-long premiere. Have you heard this?
Is it still starting at 9 o'clock, Sean? So we don't have to end our show an hour early?
Well, there'll be no show that week if it happens, guys. But, yeah, they say that there's going to be a 2-hour-long premiere. So, I'm thinking they might bring in Negan this season. Although some people said that, talking to Kirkman, he speculated that Negan is a ways off. And he was on I read a blog, he was on a talk show sometime this week, and they were playing some kind of Q&A game. And they had asked him a question about who he thinks should get murdered off the show or whatever. And he said, well, it's going to be really sad when Glenn gets his head bashed in by Negan. Now, it led a lot of people to think, is he kidding? Was he giving us a teaser there? Did he slip up? And then Kirkman went on to say, Negan wouldn't be introduced for quite some time. But, did he slip up? Is he really going to let something that big out of the bag?
I think Negan is a brilliant promotional artist, because who can turn away from that? It's going to be one of those things that people just watch and watch and watch and watch and watch just to wait for that particular thing to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. This week, guys, what I think, the Ghostman's pick on The Walking Dead, what I think is going to happen is we're going to get a whole lot of meeting and greeting to the Alexander Free Zone. Everybody's happy, everybody's cool, but then we're going to get a little taste of, I think his name was Pete, right? The surgeon?
Yeah.
Pete or something like that. We're going to get a little taste of him, and Rick's going to get the uh-oh, and then it's going to leave us off to the next week. What do you think?
We're definitely facing some issues here, Sean, with the fact that our crew have been out our survivors, they've been out on the road too long.
I think you're right.
They don't know what to do with a safe place to live. They don't trust anyone. Look at what they experienced with Aaron.
Right.
They're ready to slit throats first and ask questions later.
And do you blame them after they're getting their throats slit? That was terrible. At the Terminus.
Terminus.
That was terrible.
And, no, I don't see our group embracing this that quickly. I think we're going to look at a long time of them trying to convince the survivors that they're safe, and the survivors having a really hard time integrating into a society. And then once they do, I can't say that it will be very long before things will go awry.
Yeah, as soon as they get comfortable and let their hair down. Anyway, guys, G&D Show Rot Talk. That's what we think's going to happen tonight on that show we know and love, The Walking Dead. Anyway, Demon Hunter, it's about time for that break. Why don't we tell them who tonight's guest is?
Why don't you tell them who tonight's guest is?
Okay, I will.
You do that.
I will. Shadow Nation, tonight's guest, if you're just joining us, the Mutual UFO Network. It's an American-based nonprofit organization that investigates cases of alleged UFO sightings. Tonight's guest, Jan C. Harzan, stops by. He's the executive director and has his degree from UCLA in nuclear engineering. He'll stop by studio tonight, guys, as we ask that age-old question, are we alone in the universe? We find out tonight, so stay tuned. Hopefully we find out tonight. Jan might be at home listening going, I hope they're not going to try to find out for me, because I don't know. Yeah, what do you think, Nathan? You think we're alone? Do you think we're alone in the universe?
No, I think that we live with the Tuttle Bottoms monster.
We could. Anyway, guys, tonight's band, we play an indie band each week. Tonight's band is Jeremy Wallace. Name of the song, Going Down. Shadow Nation, Demon Hunter.
Sir.
We'll be right back.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, well, I should have stayed in bed like my good gal said. Instead of running with a homemade shine. No pair of white lost sight last night. It ain't nobody fault but mine. Yeah, now it's hiding a weed near the sycamore tree. Yeah, up the edge of Widow Anderson's farm. Yeah, but I can't see my hand in front of me. I just try to make my way to the barn. Yeah, well, I saddled up a horse, make my way up north. And well, I hope I don't wake up the hound. Yeah, but the widow end blows and the circle of crows. Well, I knew I was gonna ride down. Yeah, I go down. I'm ready. If you love me like you say, why you treat me like you do? If you love me like you say, why you treat me like you do? Well, I ain't no fool. I'm cool, I know the rules. You said you never run around. Say you never die late. You say you never run around, baby. Say you never stay out late. Let me tell you, pretty woman, I got to set you You say you never run around. Say you never stay out late. Say you never run around. Say you never stay out late. I'm gonna tell you, woman, I got to set you straight. If you love me like you say, why you treat me the way you do? If you love me like you say, why you treat me the way you do? Well, I ain't no fool. I'm cool, I know the rules.
This is William B. Davis, the actor from The X-Files at Continuum. My autobiography is Where There's Smoke, and you're listening to Ghostman and the Demon Hunter Show.
Hey, welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only mystifying Oracle of Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter Show. Tonight's guest, the Mutual UFO Network, is an American-based nonprofit organization that investigates cases of alleged UFO sightings. Tonight's guest has his bachelor's degree from UCLA in nuclear engineering and is the executive director of MUFON. Mr. Jan C. Harzan in studio tonight. Jan, how are you doing, my friend?
Great. Good to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, we know you're a busy man, so thank you so much for coming on. We got to you late notice this week, but wow, what a career you've had. I mean, you just got out of IBM, yeah?
That's true, after 37 years.
Happy retirement.
It was a great career. Enjoyed working for them.
I'd just like to point out here, Sean, that the last time we had a nuclear physicist on was Stanton Friedman, and he made both of us look like morons.
Yeah.
So please don't do that, Jan. Please don't do that to us.
Dial it down, Jan. Put some water on it. But, you know, I've been doing my homework, and you're such an amazing person. I've seen interview after interview, and on this show we try to ask you, you know, the different questions for our listeners. And it's so hard because you've done every interview out there. So, you know, a lot of people want to know. MUFON, of course, started out the Midwest UFO reporting agency, and then it turned into the Mutual UFO Network. What's some of the history? What's some of the history of MUFON, and how did you get involved?
Well, MUFON was founded by Walt Andrus and a couple other gentlemen, as you said, up in Illinois area. At the time, it was just a single state, and they made it the Midwest UFO Network, and a few other states joined in with them. And then as it grew, it was a grassroots movement, really. It was basically a spinoff from NICAP, where they believed that things should be decentralized as opposed to centralized. And they allowed people to do their own investigations and kind of run their own operations in local geographies, and that just really took off, and it went around the world. We now have all 50 states involved, as well as 40 countries around the world actively engaged in this whole process. So it's grown quite well. And of course, with the changes that came along, keeping the words Midwest UFO Network didn't make much sense. So they tried to keep MUFON, the name MUFON, at least MUFON.com, as the name, and therefore they changed the Midwest to Mutual.
Yeah.
So that's really the history behind it.
And that's it. And then it just went sky high. I mean, you guys are the #1 in UFO. If there's a problem, now does all the calls around the world that the FAA gets, United States, do they all get directed to MUFON?
The vast majority do, although our calls, our reports mostly come from the public. If you go to our website, MUFON.com, and you click on Report a UFO, we receive between 500 and 1,000 reports from all over the world each month. The vast majority of them, of course, in the United States, because that's where we started, but we get them from all reaches: Qatar, South America, Asia, Europe, all over the place. People reporting strange sights in the sky, and then, of course, the power and presence of MUFON is that we have field investigators who actually look at those reports and try to determine if there's something worth following up on, and if so, we then actively engage in an investigation to determine exactly what happened.
So 1,000, 5,000 a month. How many did you get last year?
Just shy of 10,000. So we get between 500 and 1,000 a month. So last year we were just shy in the 9,000 range for, I think, 9,800 some for UFO reports from around the world. So it's quite a bit, and frankly, it's a lot to handle. But we do have processes in place. We have volunteers in place. The entire operation is run from a volunteer standpoint. With the exception of myself and an office manager, we really don't have everybody else is a volunteer. So it's quite amazing that we're able to do what we can. We are looking at some ways to fund ourselves that might allow us to have paid staff and actually pay some of our investigators. But right now, it's all volunteer.
Wow, it's amazing. And it's the same with any type of research out there with the, whether it be ghosts, aliens, what have you. A lot of it takes big hearts and people that are really interested in it. And I think that's why we get so far, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the vast majority of the people who volunteer for us have had their own encounter with a UFO, and some of them very startling encounters, very close encounters. And this has just totally piqued their interest and gotten them interested in doing this thing. So they're just fired up to go investigate and try to figure out what's going on. So they're passionate people, I would say that. All of us are.
Right.
Now, Jen, you say that so many of them have had experiences, and they say seeing is believing. Have you seen anything that made you believe?
I actually did. When I was 10 years old, my brother and I both saw a landing craft in our backyard in Thousand Oaks, California, literally 30 feet from us. I've talked about it a lot. You can Google it on some of the different shows I've been on. But just briefly, if you'd like, I'll take you through it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, basically what happened was my brother came into my bedroom at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday to let me know that there was somebody trying to break into his bedroom. And I asked him, well, did you look? What do you mean trying to break in your bedroom? He says, well, there's someone at the window trying to, take out the screen and do something, which is kind of strange. I've never heard of actually, since then, I've never heard of a UFO report where someone tries to take out a screen. But I said to him, well, did you look out to see who it was? And he said, no, I didn't look out to see who it was. So I said, well, let's go up and look. So I was at one end of the house. He was the other. So we walked back up to his bedroom, looked at the window. We didn't see anything. We were standing in the doorway looking at the window. There was nothing there. There was no noise, nothing going on. So I said, well, let's go out in the backyard and take a look. Now, this was around April-ish, 1965. So it was right before the time change. So the sun was already up. It was very bright outside. And we went into the garage, and as we walked out, I looked up at the clock that was in the kitchen on the wall, and it was 6:30 in the morning. Went out the back door to the end of the house and looked back towards his bedroom, and there was nothing there. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, he's just pulling my leg. He's just trying to get me here. So we turned around to go back in the house, and literally right there in front of our faces, 30 feet from us on the corner of the house, was this craft. It was bright orange. It was like a tank. About the size of a minivan, but I always tell people it's like a brick. If you took a brick and blew it up to 4 feet wide by 3 feet high by 8 or 10 feet long, and then completely smoothed the edges, completely smoothed them, and then put landing gear on it, 4 landing gear. The landing gear were like a cobalt blue. I mean, this is the most ornate UFO I'd ever seen. Bright orange, cobalt blue landing gear, like dryer hose. They were corrugated, so they kind of came down. They kind of drooped down. Yeah. And then black suction cups on the bottom, and then we had brown crossbars going between each side of the landing gear with a bolt in the center. So, I mean, this thing was just frozen in the sky, about 10 feet off the ground, and we're staring at it, and it's making this humming noise like a transformer on a telephone pole late at night. If you ever walk down the street and hear this humming, that little hum noise they make. And my first reaction was, oh my gosh, these things are real, because here it is right in front of our faces, of course.
Yeah.
And my second reaction was, oh my gosh, it looks like it's man-made. Now, the reason I said that to myself was because this bolt in the center where the scissors, the crossbars went, they kind of scissored. They're making like an X, right? And in the center of the X was a bolt. Yeah. But then I started looking at the craft, and it was perfectly smooth. I mean, it was like blown glass. I mean, there wasn't a seam or a rivet in it. I mean, and so my next thought that went through my head was, how the heck do they get in and out of this thing? There's not a door, there's not a window, there's no way to get in and out of this thing. But of course, we've learned since then, of course, that the material sciences of these things is that the doors actually morph in and out, so they can actually, you can get in and out of a craft, even though it looks seamless, there's actually a seam there somehow. I don't know how they hide it, but it's some kind of material type thing. So I then said to him, well, I'm going to go in the house and get a camera. I'll be right back. So I ran to get in the house, and we'd locked ourselves out. And by the time I got back with a camera, this thing was gone. So he was standing up on the swing set looking off to the west, and I said, well, what happened? He said, well, it just froze there, hung there for a second, and then slowly started to drift away, and then just shot out of sight. Wow. So, that was quite an eye-opener for us, of course, and it led me down the path of wanting to figure out how these things operate, because I realized that, shoot, with this kind of technology, if we had that on this planet, we could really revolutionize things in terms of how we do transportation, how we do energy, a lot of different benefits to mankind if we could just focus on it. Unfortunately, the hard part is trying to get people of scientific and engineering backgrounds to take this seriously and really look at it as a serious study. But that's one of the things we're trying to do with MUFON, is get the data, to be able to show it to the folks. And I had a conversation with a dean of a major school of engineering here recently about this whole subject. And they're not opposed to studying it. They just need funding. And like everybody else, we all need funding to make things happen. And, of course, the National Science Foundation is not really the most joyful for giving away funds to do UFO research. So.
We're so lucky
could be said?
We're so lucky one of our first contacts wasn't chucking a rock like most kids would have done at him when you guys were out there staring at it. You guys didn't want to think...
Well, I thought about that later. I thought, what would have happened if I threw a rock? I probably would have gotten shot by some kind of a beam weapon. Pulverized, but I don't know. Yeah. It was just awestruck. I mean, there was no fear. It was just, oh my gosh, this thing's real, and we're staring at it, and it's right here. And the funny thing is, when we went out the back door, it wasn't there. But we've turned around to go back in, there it was. So there's some kind of a connection, how these things can move in and out of our reality, which is quite interesting to me.
Now, Jan, being a nuclear engineer, or having your degree in it, you've had the opportunity to speak to some great people on this topic. One thing you said in an interview you were doing, we now have the technology to take ET home. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, absolutely. Back in 1993, I'm a member of the Bolter Society for UCLA School of Engineering, which is basically you pay some money and the school puts you in a status. And so as a nice thing, they put on every quarter, every 3 or 4 months, they put on a little get-together for the alumni. And this particular one, I got a flyer in the mail, and it was Ben Rich, who had just retired as the CEO and chairman of Lockheed Skunk Works, was going to be talking. He's also a UCLA graduate from the School of Engineering there. Yeah. And I called up my good friend Tom Keller, and I said, hey, Tom, Ben Rich is going to be speaking. Why don't we go there? So we reserved 2 seats, and we were right there in the front row listening to his whole talk. He spoke for about 45 minutes to an hour and went through about 40 different slides, starting with the U-2 spy plane up through the through the 71 and the F-117, right. Which at the time I think had been announced in 83. So there was a 10-year gap between 93 and 83. In other words, he couldn't talk about what happened in that 10-year gap. Yeah. But he alluded to some things like Aurora and some other stuff. But at the end of his talk, he had a slide of a black disc zipping off into outer space, and he ended the talk with these words: "We now have the technology to take ET home." And the entire place busted up laughing. They all thought it was funny, and Tom and I just looked at it and said, did he just say that? We couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe that he'd actually said those words. But nobody took it seriously. That was the funny thing. But afterwards, he'd done a little polite, I call it the polite Q&A, and then they adjourned the meeting, and about 20 or 30 of us went up to kind of get around him and start talking to him, and most of them had the same thought in their mind, like, what's this technology you're talking about, and tell us more about it. Right. And he did reveal that not only do we have the technology to take ET home, but that there was some error in the equations. If you know anything about stealth technology was actually created from a Russian mathematician's formulas that the Lockheed engineers picked up and figured out that if you built a plane that looked like the F-117 with the angular surfaces, that it would be invisible to radar. And that was all based on mathematics. That's what it was. So our universe is really a mathematical universe. And so similarly, the equations, it's either Einstein's equations or Maxwell's equations. He would not tell us. I asked him point blank, Ben, which equations are wrong? He wouldn't tell me. He kind of looked at me like, who are you again? I think he was being monitored. He actually did make a comment during the talk that he saw two spooks in the audience, two CIA guys, because they follow him everywhere. And that was one of his things in his talk, was how secretive everything was, and he felt it was way time that we, of course it was 93, and in 89 the Berlin Wall had come down, the East Wall, and he was thinking it was time now to stop being so secretive as a society and start making some of the stuff come in the open. And I really felt like he was trying to make some announcements here without getting himself in trouble and thrown in, prison for divulging national security secrets. But unfortunately, he died 18 months later from cancer and was not able to do that.
So you're saying our government is building aircraft with alien technology?
Well, they're certainly building spacecraft that can travel to the stars. I mean, I know that for a fact, and I'm assuming that most of it came from extraterrestrial origins, either through crash saucers or not. And he didn't confirm that. Ben Rich did not confirm that, but he did say, we found the error in the equations, and we know how to do this stuff, and we can travel to the stars. And it won't take us our lifetime to do it. That was his follow-on to that.
Was it like a crashed aircraft or something like that, where they got this technology?
He did not say. I mean, we asked him a lot of I asked him a lot of questions. And a lot of he just didn't. He just would give you that look, and then he wouldn't answer it. But I think he divulged enough to kind of let us know. I mean, one of the things he said on the way out the door, because I chased him down as he was leaving to go to his car, and I stopped him and I said, Ben, I'm very interested in what you were talking about tonight, and particularly this propulsion technology. It sounds phenomenal. I said, how does it work? And he looked at me, again, one of those little looks like, who are you again? And then he said, he says, let me ask you a question. How does ESP work? Mm-hmm. And it kind of threw me because I wasn't expecting him to ask me a question. I was looking for an answer, not a question. And I said, I don't know. All points of space and time are connected? And he said, that's how it works. And turned around and he walked out. Now, I have no idea if he was saying the answer was right or that what's right is that it works like ESP works. But I thought that was two very good clues. One, that there's an error in the equations, and two, it works just like ESP. So that all points of space and time are connected. So
is it really that simple, Jan?
I'm sorry?
Is it really that simple?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that simple, but it's, it leads us down a path at least we can follow. So I've had a number of physicists and engineers call me about that and ask me about those quotes. And so I know there are people around this world working on this problem, many of them private individuals or private corporations who are trying to solve it. Of course, it's already been solved once somewhere because we're doing it. So once you do something once, then usually it breaks and it opens up. Just like when the Wright brothers flew the first airplane, and all of a sudden everyone was building airplanes right after that happened. So I think we're on the brink here.
Now,
I really do.
Jan, I got to tell you, we are MUFON supporters for 9 years. We've done our research. We've had MUFON members come on, Stanton Friedman. We've had Dr. David Jacobs. I mean, you name it, we've had him come on. And we do this for love of it. And we're huge MUFON supporters, but I have to ask this question.
Thank you.
I had Stephen Bassett. Stephen Bassett was on last week. I kind of hinted around, poked around at this question, but I want to ask you. In 2010, the FAA issued a directive deferring all FAA and UFO reports to Bigelow Aerospace. And some of the conspiracy theories, some of the rumors say, what about MUFON? It's said that they've received $750,000 a year grant to give Bigelow all the information pertaining to UFO alien sightings around the world. Now, a lot of people, I'm going to let you answer that, a lot of people are hesitant. They don't know what to think of Bigelow. They think he's trying to privatize space. He's got a lot of money, Skinwalker Ranch. How do you respond to these?
Sure. Well, let me take them kind of one at a time.
Yes.
First off, I don't think Bigelow has that much money. He's got about $500 million, which sounds like a lot, but he's trying to build an aerospace company to basically build modules that go into space, and wish them all the best because I love all these private space companies: SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, Bigelow Aerospace. There's about a half dozen of these guys out there trying to figure out how to get you and I up into space. So I'm rooting for them, frankly.
Sure.
As far as trying to do things with the FAA, the FAA will give their information to anybody who wants it. I had asked Colm Kelleher, who actually runs the BASS organization, I think it's Bigelow Advanced Aerospace Studies, for Mr. Bigelow, and basically all that was, although there was a big press release on it, was that they had just asked the FAA if they had reports, would they please forward it to them, and the FAA said, sure, we would. We've done the same thing, MUFON, so we both get reports. Now, so that's not a big deal one way or the other. I mean, the FAA will, frankly, they don't want them. They don't have anything to do with them. They don't have anybody who can follow up on them. So the people giving them to them, it's like, they would rather give a referral number out and say, hey, please go here. Just like police departments, just like fire departments. When people call the FAA, when people call these places and try to report a sighting, it's nice to tell them, but they don't really care because there's nothing they can do about it. They have, they've got to go put out a fire, or they've got to go arrest a criminal, or they've got to go do something. And if the UFO is not breaking the law or starting a fire, they don't really care. It's like, it's nice, but we don't deal with that. So having an organization like MUFON to hand that to, or back when Bigelow did have his organization, I'm blanking on the name right now, but they used to do collect reports. They're not doing that anymore. So now the last item though was back in about 2007 or 8. We were approached by BASS, the Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Studies Group, and Mr. Bigelow to actually, the question that was asked was this: if we could fund a significant amount of money, which let's just say it's in the $25,000 a month range, and you could get to your sighting reports quicker, would we get better data? That was the question that was asked of us. So we designed a program called the SIP program, where we could rapidly deploy things, and they funded us money to do that, which is basically to buy airline tickets, to get people hotel rooms, get them cars, and then we monitored on a hyper-vigilant basis everything that came into our system, and within 24 hours we were able to deploy on the hot cases. I'd love to tell you that we found a lot of good stuff. It's basically, a lot of this is noise, so we're trying to get rid of the noise out of the signal.
Right.
And it was done on a basically pilot basis. So after about 6 to 9 months, the funding ran out, and they chose not to renew it. So it was an arm's length transaction, and we did this, and we did on the very, very best cases. We did share data with them, but it's not like anything. We still had our data, and they were looking to be able to drop very top registered scientists into these locations to help us go above and beyond what we could do ourselves. As an organization, we have our Geiger counters, we have our electrometers and the different things, but we don't have, electron microscopes and other things at our beck and call. Right. They're able to fund a lot more of that stuff. So, but that ended, I think, in 2008 or 9, and that was the last we've heard from that organization in terms of wanting to work on anything. So anybody could come forward to us and propose a research project, and we'd be happy to work with them on it. So that's basically what happened. I think what happened was a lot of conspiracy theorists thought that we were being taken over by Bigelow and this and that. And he was actually very adamant that he didn't want to have anything to do with the sighting reports, and he didn't want to have anything to do with MUFON per se. He just wanted to have access to what we thought was high valuable data. But that's after we had gone out and already investigated and had it all in our files. So it wasn't like we were giving up anything. We were just basically bringing them in afterwards to put it, I would call it like going in turbo drive, right? Where you can bring in guys who've got the $1 million of equipment behind them to really do
help out
the Ghostbusters thing.
Yeah. Who are you going to call? The billionaire.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, but that got all spun up into a big conspiracy, and I think Jesse Ventura did some kind of a crazy show, and I have never seen it. But it's just kind of funny because, honestly, everything we do is very open to the public. We take reports from the public. As soon as they come in, we post them on our website. As we triage them and go through the reports, we put the very best back out. because obviously everything that comes into us is not a UFO or I like to say a flying saucer from Zeta Reticuli. I mean, a lot of this stuff is unfortunately IFOs, misidentified things, but when we do get the good cases, they are pretty juicy, and we like to make those available to the public as quick as possible.
Now, I've, oddly enough, I've twice in my life have seen something unidentified flying over me. Once it was a large green fireball, and once a friend of mine and I got out of the car, and all of a sudden I noticed there were 2 extra stars in the Big Dipper. And as I was pointing up to it, they shot in different directions, shot back, zigzagged around each other, and then flew in opposite directions as fast as we could. I'm telling you the story. And we were like, okay, let's go get a drink because nobody's going to believe that.
Did you notice any missing time?
Well, after we drank, but not before.
Yeah, after you drank, you'll have a lot of missing time.
But, you know, the stuff like that happens. Obviously, large green fireball that I saw with my mom and shooting stars in zigzag forms with my friend, different kinds of sightings. Do you guys classify these as anything? Like, do you have classifications for different kinds of sightings?
Absolutely. Well, we use the valet rating, which is I won't go into great detail, but let me ask you a question on the green fireball one. How long did it last?
It flew overhead of our car. We probably saw it for about 3 seconds, but it was spotted by several people in the town and was in the paper the next day. You know, that people had spotted it.
If it's only 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, many times those are actually meteorites that are going across. And the reason you get the green fireball is because it's the iron in the meteorite burning up. But we get a lot of orbs. We get a lot of, mostly they're generally orange. I've heard of a few green, but mostly orange, red, sometimes blue. And those tend to float. They're almost like little balls of light just floating through the sky. Now, the other thing that we get a lot of are Chinese lantern sightings, and but those are pretty easy for us to decipher because they tend to flicker and then they eventually burn out.
Yeah.
But the orbs are very interesting. In fact, Terry Ray, one of our field investigators, had written a book about orange orbs. It's on our website. You can order it because there have been so many of them reported all over the United States. These are sometimes they're called earthquake lights and things like that, but they do appear to have some intelligence to them in terms of how they move and what they do. So that's very possible. Now the other one would be very hard to explain. I mean that definitely sounds like something extraordinary going on there.
Yeah, because they were just sitting there, and all of a sudden, being a stargazer the way I am, I looked up and went, there are extra stars in the Big Dipper. And it was almost as though somebody behind the wheel went, we've been spotted. And they started shooting back and forth all over the place.
Well, I've actually heard that same story before. I mean, we have cases in our files of people who said the same thing. They were looking up at the Big Dipper, and there was extra stars in the Big Dipper. That's interesting that you would mention it that way. And then they've done some extraordinary things like you suggested. So, but as far as you want to talk about classification, I mean, we classify our stuff either as an A with a valet classification, which you can Google again, AN, FB, MA, and CE. So the AN is anomalous light, like anomalous light. FB is some object that flew by. It's called a flyby, FB. And MA is something that flies by and then changes direction. That would be what you saw, which would be a maneuvering type of object. And then the CE is anything 500 feet or closer to you. So that's a close encounter. And then each one of those things has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And kind of a 1 is, you know, you saw it. A 2 would be it left some kind of a trace, all the way up to a 5, which says it would cause some kind of a physical injury. Right. So, you know, and so everything is you know, like an MA1, you know, it's a maneuvering 1, which says someone saw it. If it was an MA2, it would be something maneuvered in the sky, and then like maybe it broke a branch or it left landing traces in the ground or something, or some residue. Or it might have flown by and then actually stopped your car. I mean, it had to have some kind of a physical effect. So we do classify these things. Obviously, we're interested in the close encounters mostly because it's hard to, when you're within 500 feet of something, to misidentify it.
You know, Jan, author Timothy Good says based on credible military eyewitness, based on their accounts, President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1954 had 3 secret meetings with aliens. And I got to go back here in history, and I got to start asking your opinions on what do you think of some of these conspiracy tales from our past. Do you think the government knows about the existence of extraterrestrials?
Well, you know, when I first took over as executive director a year and a half ago, I probably would have said, well, that's kind of a sketchy story. But literally 5 months into my job, I got a call from a retired TWA pilot. And he'd been watching a TV show, and he saw this case about what you're talking about with Eisenhower. And he called me up. He says, hey, I would never call, and I don't want to be identified kind of thing, but I've got to tell you this story. And he actually told me 2 incredible flying saucer stories that he had while he was a pilot for TWA, and then American after they got bought out. But the story he told me was when he was a 9-year-old kid, he was camping in the Sierras with his uncle. And his uncle had a friend, let's just call him Bob. And when they were unpacking their tents and, you know, putting their sleeping bags out, and night was coming over, and the Big Dipper was up in the sky there, because when you're up in the mountains, there's like no light except for the sky. And he looked up there and he said, wow, I wonder if we'll see a flying saucer tonight. And his uncle's friend Bob said to him, oh, do you believe in flying saucers? And he said, well, of course. He said, there's got to be other people out there. And he said, well, I'll tell you a story, but if you tell me what I told you, I'll have to deny I ever told it to you. And this guy was worked for a concrete company that was working out at Edwards Air Force Base back in 1953 or 4, and they were pouring the bases for the you know, what do you call it, foundations for the different base Quonset huts or whatever they were building at the time. And one day there was a commotion on the base, and a couple cars pulled up, and out of one of the cars stepped Dwight Eisenhower, and he was kind of taken back because he was just he's just a guy working the concrete on the site, and he asked one of the MPs. He said, "What the heck's the president doing here?" Right. The guy told him. He said, "Well, he's here to meet with beings from another world." And that's what he told him. And then next, the guy he saw step out of the car was the Archdiocese from Los Angeles, which is interesting, and then a couple senators. So he went off because, I mean, he had to do his job. He worked today, and at the end of the day, the cars were gone, and he went back to the same MP, and he said, you know, what happened? He said, well, the president met with these beings from this other world, and they told us that we were destroying the planet. Now, if you think about it, back in 1954 or 53, we were blowing off atomic bombs right and left all over the place.
Right,
I mean, we were like kids with matches just trying to start ourselves on fire. And they told us if we would stop and we would actually police the planet, they would give us technology. So this was told to him. Now, in 1961, when he was a kid, he said, I thought the guy was kidding me. He said, I just thought he was just telling a story. He said, now I'm starting to realize he was telling me the truth. And he got me the guy's name, his wife's name, everything else. Unfortunately, the guy's deceased. So based on that story, I'll tell you, it went up in my book about 99% as being a true story.
Yeah. Now, I got to say, Jan, author Ron Rummel, Phil Snyder, mysterious deaths that surround the UFO alien topics. It's actually a 2-part question. Do you believe that our government is behind some of these deaths? And do some of your researchers, investigators, or yourself, do you ever receive phone calls when guys are out in the field saying, sir, we've been ran off by police officers or government? Do you ever receive anything like that?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because just last week we had a gentleman contact us from another country wanting to open up a MUFON chapter there. And we were in communications with him and gave him some information on how we would go about doing that. And the next day, we received an email from him saying, hey, you should know that 2 gentlemen in suits came to my house last night and wanted to know why I was interested in working with MUFON, and that I shouldn't. There was nothing to be found there, so don't waste my time.
Wow.
And I said, did they say anything else? He said, no, that's just like 2 sentences. Why are you, looking at MUFON? And then there's nothing there. Please go away, kind of type of a thing. And I didn't get much more information from him, but I mean, I was really taken back. Now, we don't get many of those, but we do get a few Men in Black stories, and that was from another country. So
right.
He basically said, I'm telling you because your communications are being monitored. And I'm like, no kidding. Like, the entire world's communications are being monitored. We're not the only people being monitored. Yeah, we're all being monitored.
Where do you guys stand? Where do you stand, Jan, on the citizens' hearing? I mean, I'm sure the disclosure. I'm sorry, citizens' hearing on disclosure. I know that last week we had Stephen Bassett on. Where does MUFON stand on that? Of course, you're for it.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Steve Bassett. Also, Stephen Greer before that, who did the original Disclosure Project, and there have been a number of other people who've set up marches and different things on Washington. Here's the big challenge. I think we're asking the wrong people, because I don't think our elected officials have a clue what's going on, and that's really sad when you think about it, because we're a democracy. We're actually a republic. Yeah. These people represent our government, but I unfortunately believe that for better or worse, the people who have the information are buried deep inside the military-industrial complex. They're basically the intelligence community who are running everything, and I think they pretty much run the country, as best I can tell, getting us in and out of wars and doing whatever they need to do. So I applaud the efforts of Steve, and I'm certainly supportive of him. We'd love to see disclosure. I just don't see that anytime soon the President of the United States is going to step to the podium and make some major announcement for us. Because, I mean, just put yourself in his shoes or her shoes.
Yeah.
What happens next? The next thing is everyone's going to ask you, well, what are you doing about it?
Right.
Well, we have no plan. But don't worry.
Attack? Yeah.
We have no plan. It would just set off worldwide panic, in terms of that. So I think what's going to happen more likely, and I think this was attempted back in 1995 by President Clinton, was when he had the JPL scientists and NASA and himself on and tried to announce to the world that we had found this Mars meteorite that had microbes in it. Mm-hmm. The words they used were that the universe, based on this information, the universe is, quote, teeming with life. I think that was their announcement to the world. Hey guys, there's other life out there. You get ready for it.
And of course, a lot of people say when Clinton was on Jimmy Kimmel. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, they never. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I believe at one time the presidents were all in on this. I mean, Eisenhower's vice president was Richard Nixon, so it would make sense that if Eisenhower knew about it, probably his vice president knew about it.
I don't know. Would you tell Nixon anything? I don't know.
I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook.
I don't know that I would, but I mean, I think where he was, and then he became president, of course. And there's the story of Jackie Gleason going out there, and Jackie actually went on public television and announced that he had seen alien bodies that Richard had taken out and shown.
See, I'm not one to talk. I'm a fan.
That's where
I'm not one to talk. I'm a fan of Nixon and Gleason.
Straight to the moon, Alice. Straight to the moon.
I actually have a two-part question for you there, Jan. I know we're starting to run down on time, but most stories that people say about they saw a UFO, like my stories, I was just out there and I saw it. So part one, how do people go out and look for a UFO if there's anything to really see there? And two, how is your new 2015 updated UFO global database going to change the way people report?
Okay. Well, let me answer the first question first. We've determined that you have a 50% more likelihood of seeing a UFO if two things are happening. One is you smoke, and two, you have a dog. Because I can't tell you the number of cases we've got where they start off, I stepped outside to take a smoke, or I was walking my dog and I looked up.
I knew I should have never quit smoking, Sean.
What were you smoking?
See? I'm kind of kidding there, but it is funny how many reports we get like that. But basically just people looking up. Vast majority of us don't look up. There could be a UFO right over our head and we wouldn't see it because we're looking forward or we're looking down. We're not looking up. So that's the main thing. It's just when you're outside, and particularly at nighttime, take a look at the sky, and pick different sectors and just stare at it for a minute or two. There's a lot of activity up there. Now, a lot of it's, of course, our own satellites, our own International Space Station, and different things. But when you see things like you saw, where a light goes shooting across the sky or changes direction rapidly, that's not anything that's circling the Earth on an orbit. That's something quite different. So that's the one thing. Now, as far as the UFO global database that we're in the process of building, basically what we're going to do on that is a couple of different things. One is make it easier for people to put a sighting report in. I mean, today if you go to our site, you click on Report a UFO, we have a form you fill out. And it was developed about 8-9 years ago. And with the new technology and computers, we're trying to make it easier where we actually feed the questions based on which way you're going. So if you've had an abduction, you get a different set of questions than if you've had a UFO sighting. if your UFO sighting was something far off, you get a different set of questions than if you saw something on the ground right in front of you. So we're trying to make it very simple, very easy for people to do. The other thing, we're trying to make it platform independent. In other words, do it on your phone, do it on your iPad, do it on your, whatever. Make it just real simple. Today, a lot of the programming on computers, it's built for a computer, so when you try to download it to your phone, it looks like it was built for a computer. You can't see it.
Right.
So we're going to make it real simple. And then people want to find stuff. I mean, the number one question we get is, I was out last night and I saw something very strange. Did anybody else see it? We want to make it real simple that you go to the website, just click on your location, everything else, and say, hey, I saw something like this, and we can tell you if anyone else saw it, and perhaps even what it might have been based on we have a lot database of IFOs things.
See, that shows you what money does, because Disney, you wear their bracelet in their parks now, they can tell you how many times you were in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And,
I'm sure they can tell you a lot more.
Yeah. Now, hey, Jan, I got to ask you, I know we're running short on time, brother, but you're so busy, I don't know when we're going to get you back on, and I could keep you on here for 5 days straight. And author-researcher Ron Rummel, I'm going to get back to that. August 6, 1993, his dead body's found stripped naked in Clay Park in Portland, Oregon. Ruled a suicide. Phil Snyder, self-taught geologist, worked for the military, spoke of deep underground military bases known as DUMBs. Also, he talked about the wars, Dulce Wars of 1979. He says we're looking up, Jan. We should be looking under. He says they're already here. They have been here. What do you think about the deaths, the mysterious deaths, surrounding UFOs and aliens? And what do you think about things like the Dulce Wars and things like that? Did they happen? Your opinion?
Well, let me address the deaths first. I mean, we probably have well over 100 ufologist deaths that we could point to.
Sure.
I'm sure some of them were natural causes. I mean, but I think a lot of them are just too suspicious. McDonald from Phoenix, Forrestal, back in the 50s.
Right.
Too many of these people, I mean, just, committed suicide who had no suicidal tendencies whatsoever. So that really raises a big flag in my book.
Yeah.
I think we have kept a secret here for national security purposes at great cost to individual rights, which is most unfortunate. I think that's one of the biggest problems of why it's not come out. I think there's a lot of people who are on the inside of this thing who are afraid that if it ever does become public knowledge, that they're going to be held accountable for a lot of these deaths and things that did happen, and they don't want to be,
right.
Which would make sense. So maybe we need an amnesty program to say, okay, we're going to forgive and forget, but we want to know the truth and tell us the truth. As far as the Dulce Wars, I really don't know whether that's fact or fiction.
Right.
But what I do know is that we have a lot of tunneling going on in the United States, and we have a lot of underground facilities all over the place for a lot of different reasons. But it certainly could be a strong possibility. I think that's one of the, when people ask me, what are UFOs? I would say, well, the most logical would be they're, extraterrestrial beings coming from another solar system, another planet, some galaxy far, far away, or there's some interdimensional thing going on. But clearly, an indigenous species to this Earth would be something that would be a high possibility in terms of, they're already here and they live here with us, either underground or under the ocean. And we're just, we're probably just impinging upon their space, frankly, from their viewpoint.
We're renting.
So
anyway,
we're renting the space, exactly.
Yeah, Jan, I tell you what, we could go all night with you, brother. I know we're out of time. We support MUFON, and we will continue to support you, and we'd love to get you back on. Any final questions for? I appreciate it. You bet. Any final questions for our guest, Nathan?
I've got about 20 here, Sean, but I don't think it'd be fair to go on with them. I would like to say that I was just interested in one last thing. These reports you receive, how many of them do come to you anonymously, and how many of them are like people that say, I saw this and I want to know more?
Well, the vast majority of people actually identify themselves, but there's probably a good 30-40% who say, please don't use my name. I mean, so they want to remain anonymous as far as but they typically, I would say 90-95% of the reports come to us. The people give us their information. It's hard for us to validate a report if we don't have a way to get back to the people. So we always ask people to give us at least one form of contact information, so we can at least validate that they are in fact real, that they do exist. It's not some kid just trying to play on the internet, right?
Yeah. And with that validation that you're talking about, you go out and you research these. How many of them do you come back and say this is validated?
Well, in terms of real size, about 30%. We have about 30% that look like what we call true unknowns. Be like the report you had where you saw this change up in the Big Dipper.
Yep.
We get about 30% of those. Now that doesn't mean that all of those are extraterrestrial craft. It just means we can't identify them. They don't fall into the normal buckets. They're not a planet. They're not a balloon. They're not a this or that. So it means that, as far as we know, they're unknown.
All right. Now, Jan, can you stay on the line 1 second while we close out the show?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that.
And I'm so thankful for you hanging with us on the ADD questions we give you. I know I'm all over the place, man.
No problem.
All right, man. Hold on the line. Nathan, what do you say we pay some bills?
I guess we have to.
Wow, tonight's guest. Special thanks to Jan C. Harzan, Executive Director of MUFON. Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
All right, buddy. Let's close out the show. Nathan, special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher, Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps. Hey, are you listening? They want to know. Check them out at actionaudioapps.com. Midnight Syndicate. I choked on my own spit. Creative Commons, Free Music Archives. Thanks for the tunes. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been another exclusive G&D Show interview. Don't go changing America. You know we won't. Demon Hunter.
Because we love you.
Night, guys.